I'm always struck by the word playwright, which is so different from our other departments in the theater: director, actor, designer. We have this like craftsmanship thing attached to what we do. It's you're building something. And that was really interesting to me. And so that became a thing that I did almost as a hobby and as a form of therapy for myself, was to write in the dramatic form. It just made sense to me, but I did it mostly just for myself. And that's how I sort of developed my voice. It's completely in the private, in the closet of my, of my heart, really. You know, I just wrote plays. Every once in a while I would like share something I wrote, but I was very insular about it for a very long time.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Scene Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Boark, joined by my wonderful, beautiful, amazing producer, KJ, who is still in the other room. That's a callback to an episode from 2 weeks ago and from 4 weeks ago. So if you got that callback, you have a great memory, and you're probably really good at memorizing. But anyway, today is a big day. We interviewed truly one of my favorite people on the planet, one of the best playwrights I know. We interviewed James Ijames. You've probably heard that name because in many shows you should know, and I think I literally did a segment just about James last season. I'm truly obsessed with James's work, James's entire catalog. We had so much fun in this interview. James is the absolute best. I cannot wait for you guys to hear it. And honestly, I'm going to stop talking and just let us get right into it. Let's get into an interview with James freaking Ijames. Oh my God. All right, I'm here with James Ijames. James Ijames is an American playwright, actor, director known for his innovative and thought-provoking works that explore themes of identity, race, and social justice. He's the 2022 Pulitzer Prize winner for his play Fat Ham, which reimagined Shakespeare's Hamlet in a contemporary Southern setting. Ijames' work often blends humor and tragedy to address the complex issues, provoking audiences with both a critique and celebration of Black life in America. In addition to his success in the theater world, Ijames is a prominent advocate for diversity and inclusion in the theater arts. He's an educator, a director, and we're so happy to have him on the show. James, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm always so moved when people read my bio. I'm like, oh, my intentions, they are happening and people are seeing them. So that makes me happy.
I feel like every time I read a bio for every person on the show, and either someone is it's always one or the other. Someone's really moved or someone's very uncomfortable with me talking about their accolades for a minute straight. So I'm glad it was good. Yeah, I'm a huge fan. I think before you've been on the show, I've probably talked about most of your plays in our segments, shows you should know, or a lot of people know me from my TikTok where I recommend a lot of new plays, and I'm constantly talking about Kill Move Paradise, and I'm constantly talking about White and all of these amazing, wonderful plays that I love so much that you've written. So yeah, I'm so excited to chat. I want to start most of these interviews in the same place where I want to talk about your beginnings. A lot of our listeners here on the Scene podcast are high school educators and college educators. We go up to over 300,000 subscribers every week. And I want to talk about what are your earliest memories of being a creative? What inspired you to become a playwright and a director and an educator? And were there any educators in your early life that kind of gave breath to your journey as a creator?
Well, my mother is an educator. My mother taught first grade my whole life. And my grandmother taught kindergarten. My older sister taught for a while. My uncle taught. So I come from a family of people who not only really valued education, but they practiced. They were people who were interested in passing on what they knew, and so that was always something that I knew that I was going to do, but I didn't know what it was going to look like. So that's a big part of who I am. And I think because they were really interested in education, they made sure that we were always surrounded by art and by culture. they made sure we saw beautiful movies, and our homes had beautiful art in them. And so I was always surrounded by beautiful things. Like beauty was something that my family valued. And then when I was about 13, my grandmother, who saw that I was really interested in comic books, was like, you should write a play for church. I was about maybe 14 or 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't know. And she was like, it's just like a comic book. There's just no pictures. And this woman explained to me what it was.
Wow.
And so I wrote a play, having never read a play. The conceitedness of that, right?
I was going to say, the first play you ever wrote before you ever read one.
Before I ever read a play. I'd seen television. I understood that. I think I was made to understand in that moment that the job was you tell the people what they're supposed to say. And so for a long time, I thought that that's what a playwright was supposed to do. Yeah. And I was like, that doesn't seem particularly interesting to me. And then in high school, I read August Wilson. I read Seven Guitars. And I was like, oh, no, it's not just telling people what to do. It's art. It is. I'm always struck by the word playwright, which is so different from our other departments in the theater: director, actor, designer. We have this like craftsmanship thing attached to what we do. You're building something. Yeah. And that was really interesting to me. And so that became a thing that I did almost as a hobby and as a form of therapy for myself, was to write in the dramatic form. It just made sense to me. But I did it mostly just for myself. And that's how I sort of developed my voice. It's completely in the private, in the closet of my of my heart, really. I just wrote plays. Every once in a while I would like share something I wrote, but I was very insular about it for a very long time.
Yeah. I remember I love hearing about the first thing anyone ever wrote on this podcast. Was there do you remember anything about that church play that you wrote? Do you remember like what it was about, or what it was like kind of taking on dialogue for the first time?
Oh, I remember it vividly. I'm not going to describe the plot because it's a terrible plot, but I remember it vividly. And the thing that is remarkable about it is I remember feeling really struck by the fact that people meant it when they were saying it, that they meant it. That there was something about that felt magical, it was a feeling I wanted to experience again. And so like that, I think if I had to describe the moment that I became a playwright, it's that. It's like, I didn't realize that that's what I was supposed to do for a very long time, but like that moment of seeing people say something that I wrote down and really meaning it was transformative.
Yeah. And when after that moment of being of like writing that play for church and all that stuff, when did you realize, or when did it maybe hit you that you were like, oh, this is what I'm doing, like this is my career, this is like what I want to do for the rest of my life? Was it in college, or was it after school? Where was that?
This is such a weird answer.
Great start. I love the start already.
The thing I knew by the time I was in college was I want to have a life in the theater. What that looked like was very soft around the edges for me. And I threw myself at everything. I did a little design. I acted a ton. I probably have been an actor longer professionally than I've been anything. I think, outside of Philadelphia, most people know me as a playwright. But in Philadelphia, people are always like, I remember seeing you and James in The Giant Peach. I've had this whole life as an actor, but also like in college, I directed a little bit. I wrote things and directed them. So I knew that I wanted to have this really robust life in the theater, but I didn't know what that was going to look like. So I did everything, and that didn't change. Like I left undergraduate. I went to grad school for acting, studied acting, still couldn't help but write plays. I wrote 2 plays while I was in grad school and self-produced them with some other students while I was there. So like I was constantly forcing myself to make things while I was working as an actor. And so like the first full-length play that I kind of consider like a professional play of mine was The Most Spectacularly Lamentable Trial of Miss Martha Washington, which I wrote in the dressing room while I was playing Belize at the Wilma in Angels in America. And like, that's what my life as a playwright looked like for a very, very long time. And then, I just finally was like, I like this life better. I feel more like myself as a writer.
Yeah, I want to talk about Philadelphia a lot. I know you have this deep connection to the Philadelphia theater scene, from being a 3-time Barrymore Award winner to co-founding Orbiter 3, Philadelphia's first playwriting producing collective. To on top of that, my first interaction with you personally was taking your adaptations workshop with the Wilma Theater, and it was like transformative as a playwright. And now directing King Henley II at Art and Theater Company. Can you talk about what Philadelphia means to you and the impact that that theater community has had on your work and on you as a artist, as a theater maker?
Yeah. I got to Philly. I came here in 2003 to start graduate school at Temple. And it was, you don't know you're in a golden age until it's over. Mm-hmm. So Philly at that moment in time was so spectacular. Like, it's still a spectacular place, but it's the pandemic has changed. It's very different. But there were all of these like small to mid-sized companies. There was so much energy, people just like sort of taking the reins of their career and making it happen for themselves. And when I got out of school, a lot of what I was getting were these very sort of scrappy jobs with companies that were very small, who were doing sometimes really experimental, strange things. So that part of my career was happening. And then at the same time, I sort of found myself in the world of museum theater. And I worked at the Constitution Center for 8 years doing theater. But I did shows there as an actor, and I also wrote what they called pop-up theater pieces, which were these like ancillary pieces that would go in the exhibitions. Oh. And so I think about the crucible of those two things, this very sort of avant-garde, clown-based physical theater that I was doing, learning how to do, watching constantly because there was so much of it happening. And then I was doing this theater that was really, really research-bound. Like, you had to be accurate. And you had to make characters that were very flat feel fleshy. And so I exercised those muscles basically through jobs. And then when I started to write plays, all of that came with me. So there's a real desire to sort of push the body of the actor to the limit in my work. Mm-hmm. I really like that because as an actor, I really liked that. I liked that sensation of every square inch of me is this moment.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen a lot in kitchen sink plays. Right? That's a thing that happens in things that feel a little bit more epic. And so when you look at my early plays, it's got this scale, it's got this striving for a physical vocabulary to come through what's on the page.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love what you said about the way acting kind of formatting you as a playwright, as well as all of this background and work and everything. As I mentioned, you're currently directing King Henley II at Art and Theater Company. By the time this episode comes out, it'll have closed most likely, but I've been following along so much. While most of the world knows you as this Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright, directing's been a part of your career from the very beginning for so long. How do you approach projects as a director? And similar to what you kind of said about acting, how does like your experience as a director, and like obviously it's still something that you're currently doing and you love doing, how does it impact you as a playwright, like taking in these plays and taking them on? Obviously King Henley II is a huge undertaking, so also just how's that going?
It's massive.
Yeah.
I read that play when Terry Nolan, who's the artistic director, was like, I think we're going to do King Henley.
Yeah.
I was like, that one. It's just such a big play, and I was like, well, I'm interested in doing something big. and man, it was an incredibly rewarding experience. It's a really stunning production of the play. It's I think the second week of its run. Beautiful, beautiful performances. So, yeah, I think when I step into, it's so weird. Like I have fought so long to not be a thing. Like now I am a writer, but like there's so much that I love to do. So like it's hard for me the brain doesn't change. It's just I'm always looking at the making of a play the same. It's so weird. Like the job inside of it is different, but how I hold the play is always the same, which is that the playwright is in some way trying to build community with me and is asking me to also build community with other people with this work. So how are we doing that? Which means that I like treat all of the theater making that I do, whether I'm directing, whether I'm acting, whether I'm writing a play, as just that. It's like this attempt um, to build community around ideas, around shared affinity, all of that stuff. And so I come to it as a director with a great deal of respect for the text, but also looking for the ways that the playwright has offered me access to expand the theatricality of the text.
Yeah.
And playwrights always do that. And so like you have to be able to like, you can't have much ego about it. You can't you can't take anything personally. It always has to be about the work. Like I always say, I'm not a nonchalant person. I'm a person that's like, I care a lot about this stuff. And so every time I approach any part of it, I'm approaching it with kind of monastic, zealous sort of passion for how to get it to do the thing, which is to bring people together around an idea.
Yeah. No, absolutely. God, I love everything you're saying. I did want to ask you, I was just talking to Keenan Scott the second. We just interviewed him episode or two ago. And we were talking about the Pittsburgh cycle. As a director, is there any other pieces that you're like desperate to like dive into or like take on throughout August Wilson's campaign?
Of the Pittsburgh cycle?
Yeah, of the Pittsburgh cycle specifically.
Yeah. I want to do 7 guitars now.
Mm-hmm.
I did 7 guitars at Rowan University ages ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a baby director. So like, an okay production of it.
Yeah.
But I think I understand something about that hunger to make it. Mm-hmm. I understand something about that now that I didn't understand when I was directing it, in my like 20s.
Yeah.
So I'd love to do that one. And then my favorite is Joe Turner's Come and Gone.
Yeah.
I love that play so much. So I'd love to do those too.
Yeah. So, oh gosh, I love talking about that entire cycle of pieces. They're so brilliant. But
it's like it's like no one talks about how astonishing it is that he said he was going to do that and he did it.
I know it's really, really. I went to grad school in West Virginia and right outside of Pittsburgh. So it's funny because like everywhere I've talked about theater, and I've been lucky enough to talk to so many theaters around the country about it, and they talk very differently than like when you're in Pittsburgh. When you're in Pittsburgh, like they talk about the canon and the cycle as this like not just this like beautiful string of plays, but this massive undertaking that he took on and that he like created for this city. And I don't know, it's really, really wonderful. But I want to talk about my first experience with your work. I saw Kill Move Paradise at Dabama Theater in Cleveland, Ohio. I don't know if you were. I mean, shout out Dabama Theater. I'm from Cleveland. I was born in Cleveland. They're one of my favorite.
I've seen photos of that production. I didn't see it, but I've seen photos of it.
It was gorgeous. They're amazing. They also know that I'm obsessed with them. I've made 1,000 videos about Dabama Theater. But I saw Kill Move Paradise there. I remember walking out searching your name and purchasing every James Ijames play I could find from Concord, Dramatist. I went on your new play exchange. I found your website. I'd be doing a disservice to myself. I usually have like one selfish question in every interview, and this is mine. Can you just talk to me about Kill Move Paradise for a little while?
Yeah.
Just tell me about that play,
Yeah.
where it came from. Yeah, please.
Yeah. It's so weird. I'm remembering exactly the moment that I started thinking about it. I was in a workshop uh, for Miss Martha at Playpen, and Nigel Smith, who's a just fabulous New York director, runs, what does he run? The Flea now. And Nigel and I had hung out that night, and we were talking about the play and what we wanted to do. And the news came through that George Zimmerman had been acquitted. And I remember just sort of thinking, wow, that's it. Like, that's it. Like, it feels like there's like an open season. And then not long after that, Tamir Rice was killed by police. And the kid, like the fact that it was a kid, and my nephews were very young, like it was just not great. And I was really angry. And a lot of my relationship to writing, I grew up working class. My mom was a teacher. My dad, was a factory worker, and we didn't have a whole lot. And so, I wrote to like metabolize my feelings. I was a really angry sort of kid. And so that hasn't completely changed for me. And I was really angry, and I wrote this strange little play, I think in a week. It's the fastest I've ever written anything. And I put it in a drawer because I was like, no one's ever going to read this. And this is kind of too strange for anything, but I felt better. And I felt like, I was able to articulate the anger and the fear and the anxiety into those characters in a really useful way for myself. And then Jonathan McCoury reached out to me and was like, do you have anything that hasn't been done? He's at the National Black Theater up in Harlem. And I was like, I got this weird play, but you're not going to want to do it. And he read it and he loved it. And until Fat Ham, it was my most produced play. And that bothers me because I want that play to be obsolete. I want people to look at that play and go, we don't need to do that play anymore because this doesn't happen. And now, all these years later, after writing that play, I realize that it's why we write plays. They don't become obsolete.
Yeah.
So that's Kill Move. Sorry, what a downer! Oh my gosh.
No, I feel bad for anyone who hasn't read the play and heard me so excitingly come into that question and then just like so somberly take it all in. But I'm
sorry.
No. Oh my gosh, please don't apologize. And it's done all over the country, all over the world, because it isn't obsolete, obviously, but also the brilliance of the writing and the absurdity of the play at moments is just the absurdity of moments, but the like somehow never leaving realism is just something so special. Gosh, I love when the kid comes in and then the absurd kind of takes over in order to give him that joy, and it just takes me. I can't stop thinking about. I haven't stopped thinking about that play for years, and it's one of my favorite pieces I've ever seen. But you brought it up, and I'd be doing a disservice to the audience by not talking about this. Obviously, you wrote Fat Ham, a Pulitzer Prize-winning, Tony-nominated, critically acclaimed Broadway hit. I want to talk about this play too, because I remember watching an interview where you talked about not just your relationship with like Fat Ham itself and with Hamlet, but with like Shakespeare as an actor and with Shakespeare like throughout your career. So where did this play originate, and what made you want to use Hamlet as the framework for this story? but also, what is your relationship with Shakespeare like? Well, what made you want to write this play? And honestly, how is it now, having maybe
Mm.
written one of the most, I mean, probably the most famous Shakespeare adaptation written in the last 10 years? It must have been a very large, huge change of pace for you within the Shakespeare canon, and just looking at that kind of work.
Yeah. I guess I read like Romeo and Juliet. This is so funny. I probably read those plays before I read August Wilson, but I didn't think of them as plays because it wasn't in a theater class. But it's true. I probably read Romeo and Juliet and Julius Caesar before I read Seven Guitars. And so, because we're forced to know this guy,
Yeah.
we have to have a relationship with him. And it's like, even people who don't care about Shakespeare, if you say to be or not to be, they know what you're talking about.
Oh yeah.
It's you know, so much of our language comes from that guy. So he's somebody that I wanted to talk to. I had questions. I had frustrations. And some of this is like my own, like, you know, my journey with Shakespeare is primarily as an actor. I always felt like I'm from the South. I've spent, you know, most of my acting career suppressing or shifting some part or some area of my regionalism. And because of that, like, because I wanted to be able to like be perceived as someone who could speak this language. And then I was home. This is once I'd started writing plays, and this sort of, you know, it's a prelude to starting Fat Ham. I was at church, and they were reading the scripture, and everybody's reading this King James Bible. And I'm like, wait a minute, I've spent my entire life listening to people speak Elizabethan English every Sunday of my childhood. Why did I let someone tell me that I did not have access to this text because, you know, there's a way it must be spoken or whatever?
Yeah.
And that sort of flipped it for me. And then I was like, well, how do I write a version of this that feels, looks, sounds so intensely like where I come from, that's the only way that you can do it. That you have to get that right, or it doesn't work. It falls flat if you don't get that particular sort of Black Southern weird that's underneath that play. And so that's the long road to Fat Ham in a nutshell. I mean, I played Hamlet in a student-directed, abbreviated production. It was for like a directing class.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the first time I read the play. This was in college, and I loved it and identified with him. And, you know, I was sort of coming to terms with my sexuality, and Hamlet sort of like there was something about that made some sense.
Yeah.
And then I like just would read the play over and over again. I just like thought it was witty, and I thought it was funnier than I'd ever seen it done. Which is probably why it ended up being a comedy in my hands. So yeah, I mean, like it's like all plays. It's like you run into it and you're like, I have all the tools to do this. I will say that I like watched every version of Hamlet that's available to be watched in preparation for writing this thing.
Do you have a favorite?
Yeah. Oh, I have a couple. I really, really loved Thomas Ostermeyer's production of Hamlet that was in German, and is actually the big inspiration for all the karaoke in my play. It comes from an image that he invoked.
I was literally, I have some extra questions written up, and I was going to ask where the creep moment came from.
Yeah, it comes from Ostermeyer. He had Gwendolyn serenade Claudius at the banquet, and I was deciding to put the entire play at that banquet scene essentially. And so it was like, oh, that's such a great way to, you know, mix up what's happening in the backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I lost track of my thought. Uh, what was I talking about?
Other Hamlet productions that you loved.
Oh, the Kenneth Branagh 3 hour long
Yeah,
marathon. I love it so deeply.
he's
It's so
brilliant.
over the top. It's brilliant. He's probably, he's too old at that point. Probably he's just a little too old for it. But
Mm,
Kate Winslet is just divine.
yeah,
Those two had the most sort of impact on me. Like the scale and the sort of maximalism of Brana, but like rendered in this sort of Southern kitsch way is kind of how that showed up in my play. And then the Ostermeyer, just that weird singing scene, I just was like, this is just incredible.
yeah. Oh, God, it's such a good play. I cannot wait to. I mean, I cannot wait. I'm so excited. I'm so happy it's doing so many things, and so many people are able to see it now all over the country, all over the world. But I have one. I have one more written up question, but I had something I didn't write up that I wanted to throw at you. So I'm sorry that I'm throwing this at you. But um, when I first saw Kill Move Paradise, I went to your website, and your website was like, and has been like the pinnacle of playwrights websites for me for so long. I don't know why. I love it whenever anyone like asks like me, whenever like young playwrights ask me like they're putting together their website, I always send them to your stuff. Can I ask you, where did the idea for the offerings tab come from?
Mm.
This is such a deep pull and such a specific thing, but I've talked about it publicly so many times, and I just want to know where that came from.
So I talk about community a lot,
Mhm.
and it's because I grew up in a close knit community. My family is a part of a very close knit community, and that I grew up in. And when I moved to Philadelphia, I had to build that for myself again here because you have to have it where you are. And so it's a thing I really believe in. And one of the ways you do that um, is that you try to spark in other people something like,
Mhm.
and I wanted to put something on my website that people could take from me for free. Like I wanted to offer something to people for free. And I hope, there's like Charles Mee who like puts his plays on his website that you can access and read for free. Like there's something about offering people inspiration or offering people an idea that I think is kind of cool. It's supposed also selfish, like I'm hoping one day I'm probably going to be old, but I'm hoping one day somebody sends me a play and I open it and it's like, oh my God, this is the Dick Cavett uh, green room play that I put on my website back in like like I know what's
Yeah.
on there. And so, um, and that makes me feel like if that ever happens, that means I've sat with somebody.
Mhm.
I've I've been in the room with somebody and I wasn't there. Like that's special to me. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I've always wanted to hear you talk about that. It's something that I love very much, and I feel honestly like when I'm writing something and I want some inspiration, sometimes I go to your website and scroll through it, and it beats out the writer's block for me. So I love that so much.
And let me say, I've got a list and tabs and tabs and tabs of things that do that for me. So like I'm paying it back. Like
Mhm.
I've gotten to benefit from other people being generous with their creativity. So like I want to do the same.
Yeah, absolutely. I could talk to you for 20 hours, but obviously you're a busy person and I'm given a question limit when I write these up. So the last question that I wrote up, I I'm trying something new. I'm kind of forcing you into a mini game and I'm really sorry. There's so many plays in your canon and your catalog that I want to talk about and I can't. So I have a list of some of your shows that I love here and I would love for you to describe them in a couple sentences just to give the audience kind of like a small taste of what each one of these are. Do you think that's something you could do?
Yeah, let's try it.
Cool. All right, cool. All right, I'm gonna start with one of my favorites. Your play White.
White is about an artist named Gus who hires a actress named Vanessa to pretend to be the maker of his art to get into a big show curated by his friend Jane. He and Vanessa create a character named Balcony who basically takes over, and Gus has to contend with what he's done.
Let me just say the end of that play, the big Balcony monologue, is like one of my favorite things you've ever written. It's so good. Okay,
I love a monologue.
Oh, I know. I love all your monologues. They're great. Youth.
Oh, Youth is about a youth pastor who runs a youth group that's very formal at a church, and a young kid joins the youth group, and we discover that he can do miraculous things a la Jesus Christ, which tests the preacher's faith and his commitment to sort of doing no harm with these kids.
Yeah. Okay, Moon Man Walk.
On a plane ride to bury his mother, Monarch meets Petrushka, and the two of them both plan and execute his mother's funeral while also discovering things about his mother and his father's past that he didn't know.
Okay, this next one's one of my favorites. TJ Loves Sally Forever.
TJ Loves Sally Forever is a play set at a fictional Virginia university where a young Black woman named Sally is put in the charge of a dean, Dean TJ, and he makes inappropriate advances to her, and she fights back. And so it's a weird sort of deconstruction of Thomas Jefferson and Sally Hemings, but set at a university in contemporary Virginia.
Such a good play. It's so well written.
Thank you.
So good. This next one, actually, I've never read. I thought it was brilliant. I haven't been able to find it. Tank Stranger sees the face of the divine in the condensation of a water glass.
Yes, Tank Stranger, which is now just called Tank Stranger because that title is about a kid who wakes up on his 16th birthday and he's turning into a monster. And he lives with his two aunts. And they work together to try to figure out how to stop this. And his mother shows up, and all four of them are able to vanquish this curse that's turning him into a monster.
Okay, all right, a couple more. I'm not going to torture you forever.
This is kind of cool, I have to say. I'm like, wait, what is that one about?
No, it's good. It's like you're going through your catalog. You're going through your canon, reminding yourself stuff. Good Bones.
Good Bones is about a couple who, Aisha and Travis. Aisha grew up in a neighborhood that is rapidly gentrifying. She is helping with that by helping a sports franchise build a stadium in an area that will just displace many, many people. And they're also remodeling their kitchen. Actually, all of the play takes place in their kitchen as it's being remodeled. And the contractor is directly impacted by this impending sports complex. And so they become in conflict. But ultimately, both sides sort of grow from having this tension together.
Yeah. What is Left Burns?
So What is Left Burns is actually kind of a weird play. It was commissioned by Steppenwolf during the pandemic. It's a 20-minute, I don't even think it's 20 minutes. I think a 20-minute Zoom play. It completely takes place between two a former student and professor who also were romantically involved years into the future. And so what I did, so that the actors could have stuff to work with, because it was only 20 minutes, I wrote a whole play with the whole relationship, both what happened before and what happens after that scene, sent it to them so that they could have that to work with. And it's a pretty good play. Like, it's never been done because it's like attached to this weird Zoom thing, but it's a play about poetry. It's a play about people who study, write, and teach poetry.
Yeah.
And that's probably why no one's ever done it. That's pretty much what it's about. Not a whole lot happens, but there's a lot of beautiful poetry in it.
Yeah. And then I will say this last play I'm going to ask you about is I saw the reading of it at the Public last year, and it truly, like, I put out my top 15 shows of like the year, and it was in my top 5, and I got so many comments from people being like, how do you know every James Ijames play that I don't know about? And I was like, yeah. So can you talk a little bit about Proxy?
Yeah, Proxy, a commission for the Public, is a play about a psychotherapist and her son, who was involved in a racial hoax when he was in college, but is now older. He's in grad school. He's like made amends and sort of like put his life back together. But he comes to stay with her for a couple of days while he's doing something. And at the same time, she has a client that joins her practice that she's working with, who reveals to her that he's done a heinous crime. And she has to sort of contend with how that sits with her. But then we start to realize that this man isn't actually real, but is actually like a racist imagination, like a figment of both her and our imagination. And it's a tricky play. Like, I don't know that it works, right? I think it's I'm experimenting with something there that I don't think I've quite figured out. It's like, how do you implicate the audience and then have them realize, oh my God, I thought that was real because I always think that that's real. And so I haven't quite figured out the knobs on that. And even like what the story of the action of the play is, but I'm excited to be working on it. It's so strange. And I'm glad that you enjoyed it, because I sat through that and was like, wow, I have so much work I need to do on this.
I loved it. I remember I went by myself, and I was sitting between a bunch of playwriting students from different schools in New York. And I remember like there was a moment towards the end where there was like an audible gasp from every single person in my row. And I was just like, oh man, I know he's in the room and I hope he feels really good about himself, because a full line of 20-somethings just went, God, like made that.
I didn't hear that at all.
Okay, well, I hope that made you feel better, because like we did it, and then we all looked at each other and realized we all did it, and we were like, this is so cool to be in the room seeing this play happen. So yeah, I can't wait to see what happens with that piece. It's so good. But
oh gosh, thank you.
Yeah, James, I end every episode. I love hearing what playwrights are working on. Is there anything that you are currently writing or tinkering with, or anything that you're allowed to talk about that you can let us know?
Yeah, I'm gonna be doing a little book writing on 2 musicals coming up.
Wow.
Goddess at the Public, which is it starts tomorrow.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm doing that with my dear friend and collaborator, Sahim Ali. And then I'm co-book writing a musical called Saturday Church that's going to premiere at New York Theater Workshop in the fall. I'm doing that with Damon Cardis. The music is Sia, and music by Honey Dijon.
Oh my gosh!
So it's a great team. Jason Michael Webb is music directing. It's really exciting. Really, really cool show. So I'm excited for people to come up to see it.
That's so awesome. Your next 2 shows in New York are going to be musicals. That's amazing.
They're going to be musicals. Yeah. I don't think I have a play in New York again for a while. So.
Well, that's amazing. I cannot wait to see both. James, I cannot thank you enough for doing this. It's been such an honor chatting with you.
Oh, it was so great. I had a great time. Thanks for having me.
that's our show. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you so much to James Ijames for being on it. Oh my God, I am ecstatic. I'm so happy. I hope you all enjoyed the show. Go read all of James's stuff. Go check out James's website. I'm pretty sure I shouted that out in the interview. It's one of my favorite websites a Playwright has. It's so cool. Go read the offerings. But go read all of James's work. It's absolutely brilliant, and I am so lucky we got to talk to him. Thank you, James. Thank you to the team over at The Scene, Zach, Leah, KJ. I love you all very much. The podcast wouldn't exist without you. And yeah, thank you to all of you, the listeners. It means the world that you guys are on listening to the podcast and enjoying the show. Make sure you check us out on Instagram at The Scene News. Make sure you check us out on on our website, thescenenews.com. Subscribe to the newsletter. On top of all that, also go check me out on TikTok at Mediocre Jokes. I put out profiles of each of the playwrights after the episode comes out. So if you want to go watch like a short 2 to 3 minute video breaking down this play, basically the bio, but a little bit more edited and fun to watch, go check that out, because we make those every week for these guys, and it goes out on our Instagram, @thescene_news, I think, and then also my TikTok at Mediocre Jokes. So enjoy, check it out, and yeah, I will see you guys very soon. I'm gonna end this episode the way I end every episode, with a quick and scene. Boom. I want everyone to know that was someone who was not confident in their show, in their monologue they were performing, and they just wanted it to be over. So it's kind of think of getting to the end of a monologue and scene. Okay, thank you. Goodbye. That was that one. See you guys next time. Goodbye.